So our first speaker today is Rachel Frantz. She graduated from Western Michigan University in 2016 with a bachelor's degree in biology and a minor in environmental studies. She worked for the Grand Valley Metro Council after graduation in 2021 as an environmental programs associate with the Lower Grand River Organization of Watersheds, otherwise known as EGLE. In April of 2021, she began as a conservation technician for the Berry Conservation District, and in June began as the recycling coordinator for the county. She's passionate about native landscaping and protecting wildlife, and she is certified as a natural shoreline contractor and enjoys camping, kayaking, and gardening. So today she's going to talk about Berry County recycling, more recycling at the local level. And our second speaker, which I will announce when we get to about halfway through, we'll talk more about at the statewide level. So please help me in welcoming Rachel.
Okay, so thank you for that introduction. Again, my name is Rachel Frantz, and I'm the recycling coordinator for Berry County. So how about this? How many people here recycle at home? Well, geez, hopefully I can give you some information you don't already have. So what is recycling? Recycling is the process of collecting and processing materials that would otherwise be thrown away as trash and turning them into new items. Recycling can be done in a single stream format where all materials are placed in the same bin. They could be done dual stream where it could be paper and cardboard in one bin and then plastic, glass, and metal in the other. All right, so like I was saying, the newest TerraCycle recycling mail-in program that I saw was for Taco Bell sauce packets. Who knew? Who knew? They also do cigarette butt recycling, which is really cool. After recycling is collected, it is sent off to a material recovery facility for further processing, sorting, and baling. Those are often called MRFs, so I'll probably refer to it as a MRF from here on out. So why should we recycle? Firstly, it reduces waste. Did you know that the average American produces 4.5 pounds of trash per day? That's a lot of trash. So recycling means we would use less landfill space, preventing the need to expand existing landfills and to create new ones. It saves energy. Recycling offers significant energy savings over manufacturing with raw materials. For example, manufacturing with recycled aluminum cans uses 95% less energy than it would have with virgin materials. That's a lot of energy. Recycling is good for the environment by requiring less energy and virgin materials for production, and it reduces climate impacts, water pollution, and it protects wildlife. Recycling is good for the economy as well. It creates a demand for recycling and buying recycled products. It also creates jobs. Recycling in the US employs over 700,000 people. It provides $36.6 billion in wages and then another $6.7 billion in tax revenue. In Michigan alone, recycling provides 61,000 jobs for Michiganders. But with that, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding recycling. A lot of it is legacy where, in the past we were told one thing and now things change. And that's, with progress, everything changes, and that's okay. The most common myth and misconception that I hear is that recycling is not actually recycled. It's just kind of a way for companies to make more money and not do any more work. We know that's not true because we can physically go and visit a MRF. We can see the materials being sorted out. We can see them being baled up, and we can see them being sent out. If you've never had the chance to see this done, the Kent County Recycling and Education Center does offer in-person tours. It's an incredible facility. They may even have some virtual tours available because of COVID. So I would check that out if you're interested in knowing more about that. However, heavily contaminated recyclables do go to the landfill. This is unfortunate, but it's the truth. There is a contamination threshold that cannot be exceeded. So for example, if you have 100 pounds of recycling, I don't know the exact threshold, but I've heard it's 25 to 30%. So say 31% of that 100 pounds is contaminated, that entire load has to go to the landfill. So what is contamination? You would think, chemicals. Not necessarily true. Contamination is when non-accepted items are put in. non-recyclable items and items prepared in an incorrect way. So then you would think like dirty recyclables, right? Wish cycling is the practice of putting anything that could be recyclable into that bin. And while this is a really noble practice, and I'm very guilty in the past myself, I thought, I know it can be recycled. So I put it in there. I don't know if it's accepted, but I'm just in case, Unfortunately, wish cycling is one of the leading causes of contamination. So that's why it's so important to know what your hauler accepts, what your drop-off center accepts, and also how to properly prepare those items. Another common misconception is that anything with a recycling symbol or chasing arrows, that means it's recyclable. Unfortunately, this is not true. It may be recyclable, then it may not. It may just be telling you that this item is made from recycled materials. Yeah, I know. They get you. So it's really important to read the fine print and just know what's accepted. All plastic items that are recyclable will have a number or a letter inside of those chasing arrows, and that's to tell you what kind of plastic it is. Some companies, some haulers don't accept all 1 through 7. Some only accept 1 and 2s. So again, you just got to check. There is currently legislation, last I knew, and I'm sure Jeff will talk more about this, where they are going to require that people cannot put that symbol on an item unless it is actually, recyclable, which would be great. Another misconception is that pizza boxes are not recyclable. Pizza boxes are definitely recyclable if they accept cardboard, as long as it is free of food and excessive grease. So I just put a pizza box out just like this. It had a little bit of grease, but that's okay. If the whole bottom was covered with grease, not okay. So just use your best judgment. Definitely remove all the food. Any food makes it completely unrecyclable. Another myth is that cans need to be crushed and labels need to be removed. And this is one of those legacies. In the past, this was true. However, it is no longer true. You do not need to remove the labels, and you should never crush the cans. The only time you'll need to remove the label is if there is a messaging on that can that says that it needs to be removed prior to recycling. Otherwise, you can leave it on. Cans should not be crushed because that can cause them to be missorted at the MRF, and then they could go down the wrong path. So don't crush your cans. Another one, plastic bags cannot go in your recycling. Your recyclables should also never be bagged. Always put them in the bin loose. This saves space and also prevents those bags from getting into the recycling. Plastic bags cause many issues for haulers and recycling centers. Instead, you can bring them to a participating retailer that offers plastic bag recycling. I feel like I skipped one, but maybe I didn't. Okay, so how do you recycle right? First, you learn the rules of recycling. So these are pretty basic rules. These are the EGLE recycling raccoons. If you've never seen them before, check out the website. They have a ton of really great information and they're very cute. My favorite is the metal one. He's the one with the mohawk. So you should always follow the rules. Flatten your cardboard and paperboard and your larger jugs to again save space. Always make sure that your recyclables are rinsed out and dry. And then again, just never bag those recyclables. I sometimes will put them in a paper bag to, temporarily hold them, but then I'll dump it and then either stick that paper bag in the recycling or reuse it, depending on how many paper bags I have. Most recycling haulers and drop-off centers in Berry County accept flattened cardboard, glass bottles and jars, plastic bottles and containers, paper and newspaper, paperboard and cartons, and metal cans and aluminum foil. I did not know before I started this job that aluminum foil was recyclable. And it's one of those things where it should be clean again. So, I don't expect you to go and scrub your aluminum foil. If it's super dirty, just toss it. But if it can be recycled, definitely recycle it. And then these are the most common items that haulers ask you not to include. Again, with the plastic bags, and that's one of those things that technically is recyclable, but not in your curbside recycling. So those can be brought back to Walmart, and Hastings does accept them. Otherwise, Target, unfortunately, every time I go, their bin is full, but try again, as you might. Sorry. And then multi-layer packages. So this is things like chip bags, candy wrappers, those applesauce and baby food pouches. These are not recyclable, generally speaking, because they have multiple layers that would need to be separated in order to be properly recycled. There are a few specialty programs like I talked about with the TerraCycle that will have opportunities for that, but that will be listed on the packaging if they are. But then you would want to collect them and send them in. Another one is polystyrene, also called styrofoam. This one is also technically recyclable, but almost never accepted in a residential recycling program. There are some drop-off and mail-in programs available for that. Dart Container in Kalamazoo, they try to focus more on the production of these items, but they do accept recycling. So I would look into that if you're interested. There are also some places in Hastings that accept the peanuts, and I can't think of the name, right? It's a PacSun. I can't think of it, but it's on the website. Needles and syringes should never be put in the trash or recycling. They cause a great risk to haulers. These have specialty programs that they should be returned to. You should always put them in a safe, sharp, safe container. And if you want to learn more about that, what that is, and where those locations in Berry County are, that information is available on berrycountyrecycles.org on the medical waste page. And then lastly, tanglers. They should never be included. This includes items like clothing, chains, ropes, cords, hoses, and you guessed it, they cause tangling in the machines. So anything that could be considered stringy, do not include in your recycling. So why are technically recyclable items not always accepted? This could be for many reasons, including there's just no market for that particular item. So it's not worth the time and effort for a company to collect it, process it, and it's just not financially going to work for them. Or it could be because it's too difficult and expensive to recycle. So in my opinion, it's best to just reduce the use of these non-accepted items or non-recyclable items and just move on. So proper preparation of recyclables is very important, like we talked about. Many companies now include this how to recycle label. You may have seen it on some things. Pretty much everything at Aldi has them now, which is really great. I love it. There are currently 541 brands the last time I checked, which was just a couple days ago. But there's more every day. In the last 30 days, I think there were another 11 added. So companies are McDonald's or Wendy's. It was Wendy's. Wendy's has it now too, which I thought was really cool. So these will show you the general acceptability where it says, if there's nothing, just the symbol, then it's generally accepted. Across through means definitely not. And then check locality, which means check locally, obviously. How to prepare it also. Here's some more examples of what those labels might say. Sometimes they're really hard to find. Coffee Mate had, I noticed it was so small and I could barely read it, but it said not recyclable unless label was removed. And I just had never noticed it before. And I'm like, how many of these did I put in there that I didn't remove the label? I think we're going to take questions at the, yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. But now after I discovered that, the next couple bottles I got didn't say that. Now so I don't know what changes. So that just means, check it every time because it changes. And I don't know why, but it does. So it also tells you again, how recyclable that item is, and also what parts of the packaging there is. So you may get one of those where it's got the multi-component and it tells you each item, whether or not it's recyclable, which is really helpful in my opinion. However, following that how to recycle label again is not always foolproof because if your hauler doesn't accept it, it doesn't matter if it says it's accepted. So always check what they accept, and usually they have guides that are available. And fortunately for us, all of our recycling haulers do have these guides available. And now they are accessible on the Berry County Recycles website. They're available on the resources page as well as the residential services page. So let's talk some more about recycling in Berry County. I know that's why you're all here. What can we do here in Berry County? According to the 2018 Recycling Assessment Report, which is also available on our website, 64% of residents have some sort of access to recycling at their home, whether it be through curbside pickup or a drop-off site. This map shows each local unit of government and their available services. And I just want to clarify that just because a township or area is shaded green or blue, that does not necessarily mean that curbside recycling is available to the entire township. It just simply means that it's available to at least some part of that township. It may not be available for a variety of reasons. Most often I hear that there's not enough interest in recycling to send out a truck, or they just don't service that area because unfortunately haulers don't follow, you know, township lines. They have their own defined service areas, and those are generally not accessible no matter how hard I try to get them. They don't like to give that stuff out. And you can see in that bottom, that southern area, it's really lacking, and we're working very hard to get something going there. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. So again, 4 of our haulers do bring their collected recyclables to the Kent County Recycling and Education Center. This is excellent for us for messaging because it just makes, you know, we have these rules to follow for all 4 of these haulers. There's only 2 other haulers and their rules are pretty close to the same, with the exception, let me see if I can get this pointer. Yes, so Jim's, no pizza boxes. So that's why, you know, even though they are acceptable and they are recyclable, not everybody accepts them. So you really got to know who's my hauler and what do they accept, and check often because they do, like everything, things change. So the majority, not just our haulers, but also our drop-off centers, 67% of them in Berry County bring their recycling to the Kent County Recycling and Education Center. This is where those items are sorted, baled, and sent off for processing to polymer factories, smelters, paper mills, things like that. And they go all throughout the Great Lakes region. So this map kind of shows you where all those items go. It's very interesting. I also recently published an article with more detail about where these items are going and what they're becoming. If you're interested in reading about that, it was in the reminder, but if you missed it, it's available on the website on the blog page. I'm sorry, I talk really fast. I try not to. So there are also some countywide options that are available to everyone, no matter where you live. The Waste Management Landfill in Hastings does accept recycling. It does not matter where you live. You could even live outside of the county and bring your recycling there. City of Hastings residents can bring their recycling there for free. And then anybody else, I believe it's $7 a carload now. It was $6, but I think it's $7 now. And they list their requirements online. But I would say if you're going to bring it to Waste Management, load it up because it's $7 a carload. Get your neighbors, get it, get as much as you can, get your money's worth. There's also PaperGator. So PaperGator is a collection service that collects paper, and they also provide rebates for the locations where they're located. So in Berry County, we have 14 schools, 11 churches, and 3 other locations. The Hastings and Thornapple Kellogg school districts have a bin at every single school. Lakewood has 1 at the elementary school, and then Maple Valley and Delton Kellogg have no bins. 2 out of the 5 of our private schools also have bins, and those are, you can see on the map, still up here in this area. So I did reach out to PaperGator and I gave them a very long list of locations that I wanted to know if we could get PaperGators at, including all of those schools and every single township, village, or city office that does not currently have one. Unfortunately, they will not give us any more bins. They said that the southern area is too far out of their service area. And then the bins that we do have closer to the southern area are not meeting the minimum collection requirement. So for them to come out and put more bins is just not feasible at this time. They did inform me though that they will keep the locations that I submitted on a list. And if anything changes, they'll let me know. So in the meantime, I have been trying to encourage people to use these bins as much as you can so that they can see that we want more and we need more, specifically in that southern area. Berry County also offers 2 household hazardous waste events a year in the spring and the fall. The last household hazard waste event served roughly 500 households and prevented over 43,000 pounds of hazardous waste from entering landfills. This event is very important and greatly reduces hazardous waste from entering landfills, as well as being abandoned along street sides and waterways. Household hazardous waste consists of anything that is flammable, toxic, corrosive, or reactive. This includes items like batteries, pesticides, oil-based paints, medical waste, and so on. The dates for the 2022 collection events are May 21st and September 17th. They will be at the Berry County Expo Center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And in addition to tires and household hazardous waste, this year we're partnering with Hastings Padnos to collect electronics. We're very excited. So you probably already saw this if you're attending in person, because I had a handout. But the overall collection event is free and open to anyone in the county. There will be a small collection fee for CRT and LCD or LED monitors and TVs, and those are going to be by size, and we're measuring just width. So we're not doing the diagonal because that's a little bit longer. We thought this would be the best way to save people money if we can. We're asking cash or check for those only. To learn more about this or to see the list of everything that is accepted and not accepted, you can visit the website. If you have the handout, you can scan that QR code and it will bring you directly to the page. Other resources that we have available through the website include the To Go Zero guide. This guide is a great way to find where you can dispose of or recycle a lot of miscellaneous items that, you wonder, what do I do with used motor oil? Where can I bring that? So this is a great resource for that. It's available online and in print form, but as you know, with most print materials, it's already out of date. So I created this interactive online map to keep things up to date always. So this map is also available on the website. You can filter drop-off sites by material and search by location. You can use this in the, top there. You can use that to type in either your address or just use your current location, and then it will zoom in and highlight the location, the local unit of government that you are in. It will tell you what haulers are available to you and what drop-off centers or transfer stations are in your community. You can also use the search bar to look up specific items. I did a search for oil, and then it will list all of the places that accept oil in the community. And then once you click on those sites, it will give you the information like the address, contact information. If you scroll down, it'll give you hours of operation if I have those available, any restrictions, and a cost if there's a cost that I know of. You can also use the filter option on the right side to scroll down and just select if you're looking for medical waste, and then it will show you every location. And then I like maps because it shows me a better way of like what's closer to me. I don't want to drive all the way down here if I live in Hastings and I've got 5 opportunities right there. So please explore that map at your leisure. I think it's great. I love maps though. So how else can you get involved? So recycle right, set a good example for your neighbors, recycle right, decrease that contamination, and talk about it with people. If you see someone recycling wrong, nicely say, how to properly do that. I do this with my sister and it's not always so nice, but you know how that is. If you don't already have curbside recycling and you want it, contact your waste hauler and let them know that you're interested. If it's not available in your area, you can use that interactive map to find out what's closest to you. Some of those township recycling centers are only available to township residents, but the transfer stations and the other things like that just have a non-resident fee. And then finally, if there is no or limited recycling available in your area, go to your board, go to your township board and let them know that you're interested and you and your neighbors and your family want recycling. So something that's available to local units of government and actually nonprofits, there's a full list of who it's available to. The Solid Waste Oversight Committee just released the mini grant program again. It's $4,000 of grant money with a 50% match. So if you're getting the full amount, it would be $4,000 of grant and $2,000 in match for recycling things in your community. One of the things I've been pushing lately is a mobile recycling unit. I think that for especially those southern areas, it would be really beneficial to have something come once a month, once a week, whatever the frequency may be, to offer those residents a free opportunity to recycle their materials. So that's something that if you're interested in and you live somewhere where recycling is not available, let your local unit of government board know that you're interested in that, you think this would be a good idea for them to apply for this grant. And that grant and all the information is available again on the website. So visit the website, explore the website. There are a lot of different contact cards throughout. So if you ever see anything that you're like, that's not quite right, or I have questions about this, or something that may not be listed that you know about that it has a recycling opportunity, all the contact cards go to me. So please let me know. I also had my business card up there if you want. So there's an FAQ section that answers, frequently asked questions. You can see the upcoming events and news on the recycling in the county. You can access that interactive map. There are also pages dedicated to more uncommon things like agricultural and film plastic recycling, which is a new pilot program in Eaton County, but it is available to Berry County and neighboring counties. I think that's all the exciting. I don't know. I think the whole website's exciting, but you be the judge. So with that, that's all I really have.
All right, so I think we're going to get started with our second speaker. Hopefully, you had a little bit of a break. And as I said, we will get two questions at the end, but I just wanted to make sure we had time for our second speaker. So our second speaker is Jeff Krcmarik. I apologize, Jeff, if I just said that right wrong. He's been in public service sector for over 30 years after graduating from Central Michigan University. His longest stint was with Washtenaw County, starting in environmental health programming, then transitioning, to public works in 1998. In public works, he oversaw resource recovery programs along with non-native invasive aquatic plant management and managed assessment districts to support recycling and lake management. Man, you should be here tonight when we're on our Arbor Day stroll. He joined EGLE, in 2019 as a recycling specialist, and I think I contacted you in 2019, right after you started, to try to get him out here. So we've been trying for a few years to get him out here, and has been supporting recycling and technical outreach for communities on the western and southern portions of the state. Jeff has been married for 34 years, has 2 adult children, and a granddaughter born on his birthday last year. Congratulations. And he loves all things outdoors, including hiking and camping. Well, thank you, Jeff, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I've been in contact with Ellen for a couple of years trying to get into this venue to do this presentation, and I was so surprised when I got here how beautiful this area is. And I'm looking forward to coming back sometime to do some hiking around on these trails. So I really appreciate being invited. I'd like to share some information today. Like Ellen mentioned, I've been in the business for quite a long time, and I've seen certain trends and things go in and out, and issues arise that of challenges that I've been challenged before. So I have a lot of experience, and like to use it towards a mission in life to make our world a little better place by recycling. And Rachel did mention some of the cases for making the case for recycling, and I was going to do that, but it's already been done, so I really appreciate that.
Give us 1 second, we'll get it going. Is it on? Oop, and try it again. There you go.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about our recycling program with EGLE, the economic and environmental benefits. I think Rachel mentioned some of those already. And the challenges, Rachel did mention a few of those, and some of the local program opportunities, because not only do we have recycling opportunities, but EGLE has a lot of opportunities for communities to get involved with other environmental issues regarding energy, ordinances, and things like that to assist your community. They're called catalyst communities. And we do provide a lot of education to community leaders on what they can do locally. Also, I'll be mentioning Next Cycle, which is a brand new program with the state of Michigan, and talking about how to get investment from the private sector into the state of Michigan to reduce the amount of waste that we are creating. Currently, what we're trying to go from is the linear economy, where you take it, you use it, and you throw it away. A lot of liability with that type of programming. Waste has to go to a landfill. A landfill is there forever. Landfills have to be managed. There's methane gas. There's polluters, things that blow out all over the neighborhood. There's heavy trucks that are driving by homes and compromising the health and safety of a community. So also wear and tear on the roads. So also when a landfill is completed, it's covered over, and for 30 years, the owner of that landfill is responsible for monitoring the groundwater, the methane, and everything inside that landfill. It's a breathing, living organism, basically. And there's a lot of challenges in managing landfills. And after 30 years, there's no longer a responsibility for the landowner or the landfill owner, and the responsibility comes onto the state of Michigan, the taxpayers. And that's one of the laws we're trying to change right now. We have some bills that were in committee with the Senate, the state Senate, to change those, to get more involvement from regional communities to determine how these landfills are going to be sited and what kind of input neighboring communities that are not in that jurisdiction and how they can oversee their landfill and make sure it's operating safely. So what we're trying to do is go to a circular economy, and we have had some success in that. Currently, we have a company in Kalamazoo called Fabrical. They take post-consumer pellets of plastics that are generated from curbside collection of recycling, like number 5, like yogurt cups and cottage cheese containers. And when they are collected curbside, they go to a facility where they're pelletized. They're shipped to Kalamazoo, where Kalamazoo, at Fabrical, they use 80% post-consumer in their little yogurt cups. They have to use virgin on the inside because it's a food-containing product. And so those containers, once they're made out of 80% post-consumer, get shipped to Reed City, to EGLE. And EGLE puts the yogurt back in there, and that's what it means by a circular. That's a demonstration, that's a story we tell all the time of what a circular economy is, so that we're not getting pellets from Texas or China or anywhere else, but we're supporting a local community economically and also environmentally. Right now, we throw about 7 million tons of recycling away. Right now, we only recycle about 19% of the material that we throw away. So we have a lot of opportunities to increase that. But we need about 2.7 more tons to reach our 45% goal by 2030. And that's one of my jobs, is to make sure we can increase that amount. There's labor income that's also involved, that if we did get to that 45% goal, it would provide more jobs and economic output for the communities of Michigan. So there's an economic argument for recycling. As this is a repetitive slide, but it's 138,000 jobs that could be created in Michigan by increasing it to 45%. Gerald Ford School of Public Policy last fall came out with a survey. They had over 1,200 surveys sent out to local leaders, and they got responses from 990 of the township, cities, and villages and counties. 86% of the survey respondents said it is an important community service that we have into our communities, and 77% said that funding is just about right or could be improved. So that is a statistically relevant study, and it kind of shows that people are in support. So when we go to a municipality and they don't want to pay for recycling, we say, look, there's an opportunity for you. And most of the people in the state of Michigan do want to recycle, and they do feel like they know they have to pay for it. So what I try to do is increase access. That's one of our goals, increase access. Go to places in Michigan where there's no recycling. In the north central portion of Michigan, it's not as densely populated, and that's really a challenge to make an economic argument for recycling in places where there's just not the density. So we like to inform where they can go. If they can't recycle in their community, where can they go to recycle? And then we want to make sure we're being equitable and inclusive in terms of where we look to increase the access. We also train recycling professionals. We have a conference coming up in 2 weeks at the Kellogg Center, the Michigan Recycling Coalition, and that is a great opportunity to do training for local officials on how to get recycling going in their community if they don't. We also, my job is to improve the quality. So Rachel showed the raccoons, and that's one of our attempts in marketing to show how we can do the best recycling that we can to get the most value out of our recycling. And then also growing markets. I just gave you the story about the yogurt cups. There's many more opportunities like that, like solar panels. Solar panels last 20 to 30 years. What do you do with the solar panel after you're done? Well, we're working on ways to get those things recycled. That's an example. Expand recycling infrastructure. So we want to mention how to grow the supply chain locally. If we have a local supply chain, we're not going to be worried about back order, any logistics problems from overseas or anywhere else in the country. When Texas had that freeze a couple of years ago, pellets were hard to get because all the pelletizing in the petrochemical realm in Texas were shut down for a few weeks. It drove the price of pellets up. So there's a commodity market swing that we always have to anticipate. And we also look for partnerships. We have the recycling part. We have the closed loop fund, provides zero interest loans for communities. We look for businesses and other community-based organizations to help get the word out and fund recycling. And we also are doing this because we want to decarbonize. The governor has a goal by 2050 to decrease to be net zero in carbon, and through recycling is one way, especially if we can do it locally. So what's going on with China? This is a slide that's a few years old, but China just shut down the market. They went, Rachel was talking about a little bit of contamination rate, and we used to get by with like 16% contamination rate by a bale. So if you take a one bale, a cubic yard bale of post-consumer material, they wanted less than 16% contamination. So if you had a plastic bag, for example, that was part of the contamination. If it was something, a dirty pizza box, that was contamination. But China went down to 1% in terms of contamination rate, which is impossible to achieve. It's a goal, but it's nothing, it's a target, but you're not going to reach 1%. And also, what can I recycle? Rachel also mentioned like things like TerraCycle for juice boxes, little containers from Taco Bell. There's also a cost in doing all this. For example, when you ship a bale of cardboard to a MRF, or material recovery facility, it costs you about $100 a ton to have it processed. However, cardboard is over $200 a ton. So you're making, that's your profit margin. You have to look at what it costs to transport, process, and then what your revenue is coming back to make sure that it does cost, but the right commodities do pay a nice price. Plastic, this is something that Rachel also mentioned. The plastic bags are a challenge. We looked in 2013 or 14 to have a bag ordinance in Washtenaw County. And we went around to the MRFs where they do all the separation of the plastics. And they spent 1 hour a day removing plastic bags and tanglers from their equipment. And that averaged about $20,000 a year in labor costs just to remove plastic bags. Also, the landfill was on board with prohibiting the sale of plastic bags and promoting reuse. Or it wasn't prohibiting the sale of plastic bags, but it was putting a 5-cent charge on the bag. But anyway, the landfill owners even don't like plastic bags because on windy days, they have these little ghosts hanging in the tree, they call them, and they're plastic bags, and they have to send staff out there to retrieve it because they're required by law to make sure everything's nice and neat around their facility. Batteries are another issue because, like NiCad, batteries from your computer can cause fires. And there have been fires in material recovery facilities due to lithium-ion batteries getting crushed and mingled. And they do cause sparks. And with all the paper, it does create fires. So We want to make sure batteries are taken back to a recycling station like Lowe's or Home Depot. They take the lithium and NiCad batteries back. Also, your local recycling programs through Berry County or Eaton County, they have battery recycling programs that you can use, but do not put those in your bins at the curb. They are recyclable, but not with your single stream or your drop-off stations. Sharps are another contaminant. The folks that are at the material recovery facility get poked, and that is a very dangerous health issue. We did provide sharps take-back programs with local pharmacies. So call your pharmacy to see if you can buy a container for your sharps and see if they'll take it back, and encourage them to do so, because they generate their own medical waste and they could probably take it on with theirs. Also, I mentioned the fluctuating commodity markets. Right now, cardboard is astronomical because with the Amazon Prime generation, all these boxes are being sent in, and it's causing a demand for paper products. So currently, the market for cardboard is really good, but like glass, you have to pay to get rid of glass. So if you look at all the things that you collect, you make profit on some, you lose on some economically, and so you have to identify. And sometimes folks during the good times say, look, this is the greatest thing ever in terms of providing a revenue source for our company. And then when the markets fall, they're like, geez, now we're really paying out the nose to get our stuff recycled. So commodity markets fluctuate all the time. One of the challenges that we had that we're addressing through our grant program is boat shrink wrap. This time of year, when boats are uncovered, that provides a great clean source of plastic for recycling. The LDPE, the low density polyethylene plastic, once collected, can be taken and remade into curbing for parking lots. And there's other things out there that they use these post-consumer plastics for. And also agricultural plastic is a big issue, because if you drive in the country and you see those big bales and they're wrapped in plastic, those are something that we're addressing. And actually they're taking them in Sunfield, just down the road here. There's a greenhouse and marine plastic film recycling program that we are funding, and that the Michigan Recycling Coalition is actually the project managers for. So we're trying to get a Farm Bureau involved. We have collected over 60,000 pounds of shrink wrap last year, and we're looking to triple that number. We're getting marinas in Southeast Michigan, Southwest Michigan, Northwest Michigan to participate. They're shipped to a couple of facilities around in Michigan, Revolution Plastics in Sterling, I believe it is. And we're looking for more folks that can process this film into pelletized and reused to be remanufactured. So this is one of the challenges that we took head on and are trying to show success. We look at other models around the country, and the East Coast, like the Chesapeake Bay area, also has a shrink wrap program for boats. But we're trying to do it statewide. All the way from the UP, there's marinas that will take it. And if you have a boat, call your marina and ask them if they don't recycle their plastic to contact the Michigan Recycling Coalition and take a look at what they can do to participate, because we register the collection facilities, and then we have a truck go out and milk run and pick up all that plastic. And that's one of the things, is to get the education out. How do you educate the folks on what opportunities they have? And what kind of rules do we have regarding recycling? Because every MRF, like if it gets sent to Kent County, that's great, but if it gets sent to New Boston, downriver Detroit, they have different rules on what recycling is. So as Rachel mentioned, look at what your service provider provides in terms of what is taken and what's not taken, and just follow those rules. And this is just a map. The light blue is my territory, and the purple is my colleagues. But these are the areas that I provide services to and technical support, and also oversee grant programs within those communities, shaded light blue. One of the things we do provide is grant money. We have about $3 million every year to provide for infrastructure improvements, and that can be everything from a baler to curbside carts to a drop-off station. And I have 27 applications sitting in my inbox that I have to review to determine how we're going to divvy up contracts to support those communities that have applied for grants to put in some infrastructure to improve recycling. And that's the deadline was last week, April 20th. But we provide this money every year. It's through Renew Michigan funding. We get about $15 million a year for programming and grants. And our portion of infrastructure is about $3 million a year. So anywhere from $10,000 to $1 million can be awarded per grant. And kind of the examples I just provided, the city of Holland has 10,000 carts that were delivered in 2020, providing an upgraded service. They had a bag program for recycling, and it caused a lot of problems. We had a food pantry, community action house, that collected a lot of food, cardboard boxes, because they had food delivered there, and they got a $10,000 grant for a baler. And so instead of putting it in recycle bin, they create bales and take it to a company where they get paid for that cardboard instead of having to pay for it to get rid of it. And then Kent County, we have a grappler. They wanted to sort out construction debris, because when a house is deconstructed, they just dump it onto the floor. Well, they're putting away cardboard and other things that were recyclable, so we gave them money for a grappler to actually pick out things so workers don't have to go in there, providing safety and providing an increase in the amount of material that they're recovering. Public schools, Grand Rapids, they receive recycling containers and carts. Same thing with Aquinas College and Cedar Creek Township up in Muskegon. They got a drop-off station. They got a cement pad, roll-offs, fencing, signage, and providing just the necessary support to have recycling in a rural community. We also have education grants. The Recycling Partnership for communities with 10,000 households can provide free education, so that if your community has no education at all and you're interested in enlightening your community, you can do that through the Recycling Partnership. We oversee the contract with the Recycling Partnership. They give our money away for us. So, and also all those other eligible community below there. We also have resources on our website for schools, how to create funding mechanisms. If your community wants to have a drop-off station, how are you going to pay for it? If you want curbside, how are you going to pay for it? If you want to have, one-day collections for household hazardous waste or tires. So we want to make sure, because when we look at a grant application, we're going to give you money, but how are you going to use that money 10 years down the road? Do you have some sustainable funding mechanism in your government to provide support? We want to make sure that when we provide any recycling infrastructure upgrades, that the community has the ability to operate and maintain that. So we talked about the raccoons already. This has been going on since 2019, and it's been really effective. It's a good outreach. It's good community recognition for those partners that we have, all the way from Northern Michigan University to Tiger Stadium, or Krcmarik Park, I should say. Anyway, so we would have our mascot go out and promote our Know It Before You Throw It campaign. We also do hyperlocal. So what we do is the Recycling Partnership will go during you set up your recycling at the curbside, your cart. They go into an audit of what kind of materials they are finding inside the recycling containers. And if they find tanglers or plastic bags, they label it and give you a warning about what we're finding that is not recyclable, and they should change your habits. So what we do is, after we go through a community, we see what kind of issues we have. We provide hyper-local messaging. So if that community has a problem with extension cords and hangers, that's our message through our marketing campaign. So we kind of try to do this as scientifically as possible by looking and seeing if we can reduce the contamination by doing this type of marketing. Another program by EGLE is the Catalyst communities. I mentioned that earlier. And Catalyst communities it's a program to provide resources for learning about not only just recycling, but land use, materials management, renewable energy. And they have webinars, workshops, and other online resources. So if you're a community leader, or if you want to get your community involved in something environmentally friendly, check out the Catalyst Community website. And these are examples of the type of webinars that they have: energy code adoption, benchmarking municipal facilities, planning and zoning for solar. So we have a lot of opportunities there for educating the communities. So I mentioned the recycling partnership. They also provide cards. So like the city of Holland, to purchase one card is $40-some, $48 per household if you order 10,000 cards. And the recycling partnership will provide support funding of approximately $15 per card to reduce the cost so the community can afford it. But what they do is the community will apply for our grants, get a grant from the recycling partnership, and get those cards installed with educational component attached, so that when they put the cards in your community, they make sure you know how to use them. Next, lastly, we also have another program called Next Cycle. This is sort of like a grant program, but it's not really. We provide opportunities for public-private partnerships, because we know that there's companies with the private sector that's really interested in seeing how they can be a part of the environmental recycling movement. And so we are trying to get more folks involved, broader than just citizens, but also the private sector, to be a part of the solution. For example, climate solutions, I mentioned solar panels. We're getting funding through an accelerator organization through Lawrence Institute of Technology, Centropolis. And what that does, it kind of nurtures the participant on what kind of needs they have to reach the goal of how to recycle solar panels, for example, how to get people involved in the demanufacturing or purchasing of the post-consumer products that come out of these different types of things that we use, like other than traditional recycling. So we have different tracks. We have one for organics. We're working with collecting and sending to vermicomposting in the city of Grand Rapids Organicycle. There's another company called Wormies, but we're looking at trying to get more material out of the restaurants and the residents to get the food waste properly processed and composted. We have micros grants, the top right one there. Those are $10,000, there's no matching money needed. And what we try to do is come up with a plan for you to apply for a grant, because some folks just don't have the wherewithal or the ability to fill out a grant application or how to write a good grant. And what kind of needs, what kind of goals are you trying to achieve? So we provide a small amount of funding to get folks involved with that. And also roads, that's another big one, looking at using post-consumer tires, used tires, glass, has also been used in certain projects. Michigan Tech University, Western Michigan University also have been working on different types of materials to use for constructions of roads. Roads are very intense in terms of greenhouse gas consumption. 1 mile of an expressway is like 180,000 tons of greenhouse gases that go into making that concrete highway. So it's we need to look at other materials that we have to reduce our carbon footprint. and then also novel technologies, infrastructure, and partnerships. So that wraps up. Like I have a few business cards over there, and Ellen's going to make this available because I talked about a lot of different things, and I know you don't have time to write everything down and where you can find it, but you can contact me directly if you want more information on anything I just discussed. I'd be happy to answer, help you out and answer any questions you might have. Well, thank you.